He is Dan Hurley, UConn head basketball coach, back-to-back national championships, turned down the Lakers, joining us on the program here. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, did you splurge on anything? New contract, what did you buy that might surprise us?
I mean, and thanks, Dan, and thanks for having me, man. Nothing. The only thing I thought about was, they got, I got the Raptor pickup truck, which was like a big driver for us winning it. So I looked at maybe like a vintage Bronco, like one of those like cool vintage Broncos, but I didn't get anything. I got nothing.
How important is your truck to you?
Oof, that is, it's like my armor. I love that truck. I love it. I got hooked on pickup trucks watching Yellowstone. I kind of think I'm kind of like Rip, like the Rip of college coaching.
But are you a different person when you get behind the wheel of your Raptor?
Oh, yeah. It's like an alter ego, you're in a different mode. I only drive it during the season. I drive it during the winter. I drive it when October, as the season's getting closer, and then I'll drive it all the way to the end. And then I get it, I take care of the engine and I get it, really cleaned well. And then I put it away for the summer and I treat her. I'll go in the garage and I'll talk to it and I'll start it. And I'll let it know I care about it.
But didn't you have your car stolen the first date you had with your now wife?
Yeah, that happens. And I think she knows that, like, I'm not like the super romantic type. That wasn't a setup, like, to kind of keep her at my house.
You couldn't take her home because you had your car stolen.
Yes, and the next day, her parents were coming to campus to take her to breakfast, and that was going to be my first time meeting them. So it was like a pretty awkward meeting. I wasn't able to get her daughter back to campus. I think they had to pick her up at my apartment.
So if the Lakers would have thrown in a vintage Bronco,
two-door, the company is in California, so there wouldn't have been any shipping.
Could they have done anything, looking back on it? Was there anything else they could have done that might have swayed you?
It was all about really like how I want to coach and where I want to coach. Like college, I think, is the perfect place for me to coach. UConn is the perfect place for me to coach in college. Like meeting Rob and Jeannie Buss, and they were awesome. And it had like they almost made me want to do it. But it's just, where do I belong? Where do I get to coach the way I really want to be a coach? The great thing about being a college coach, Dan, is I get to pick the players. I get to set the tone every day here. I decide when planes leave. I decide when we eat. I decide when they go to sleep. I could take their phones away at meals, and like you just have, even though you don't have as much control as you used to as a college coach, you still are an environment as a coach where you have, I think, the greatest impact on whether your team can be successful.
Let me know if you followed this same kind of feeling. I was up for a job. I was going to leave ESPN. Went to another city, wined and dined, told me all the great things. Money was great, and I was ready to take the job. Come back home, sit down, reality sets in, and my wife says, "What is it that you don't have here?" And then I said, "You're right. You come back from L.A. with your wife. You're ready to take the job. You can't turn this down. It's LeBron. It's the money. It's L.A. It's the Lakers." And then you come back home, reality sets in. Similar?
Yeah, I think so. Even going to I went to a concert at MSG, and just being, watching Billy Joel at MSG, like being in New York, just being a guy from Jersey, and just knowing how comfortable you are, how happy you are. Just your life couldn't be better. Why would you mess with that at this point? But it was tough. It was tough.
But also, now tell me if this is true, that you and your wife are texting each other like 1, 2, 3, like, are we staying or going? 1, 2, 3, are we staying? And did you do that multiple times? And what happened if your wife says, let's go, as opposed to we're staying?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had, obviously, for making career decisions, I've got veto power in that. She's got.
Are you sure about that?
I think, well, in like who we're going to recruit and how we're going to play, maybe not exactly where we're going to live. But, I was surprised that a lot of people were surprised that we make decisions as a family that way.
But what if you wanted to go?
I would have, I would have convinced my family to do it. I would have convinced her to do it. I don't think she was excited to go from Wagner to Rhode Island. I mean, I dragged her, from Staten Island to the beautiful state of Rhode Island, like kicking and screaming to a degree. So, but I was surprised that people were surprised that we make decisions like as a family there, as a family that way. My wife knows me better than anybody in the world. And there's no greater strength that I have in making any decisions than my faith in my family. My faith in my family have been the fuel behind everything that's good in my life.
Talking to Dan Hurley, the Connecticut head basketball coach. But you start to look at what you did as a player, what you didn't do, like the underdog. Like you're not an underdog anymore. But how do you convince yourself to still be an underdog or have that mentality?
No, in my mind, I still am an underdog. My path in coaching makes me an underdog. Having been an assistant high school coach, having been an assistant college coach, having paid dues for 9 years as a high school head coach, and then a low Division I coach, and then a mid-major. When I look around my profession, there's not, a lot of coaches at elite schools that have had to pay those dues along the way and have had to prove themselves in such a, I don't want to say a humbling manner, but in a much more traditional manner, the way coaches used to have to earn opportunities like the one that I have now at UConn. So as you're looking for different things to give you an edge, even, when you achieve like what we've achieved and when you're at the top of the sport, I still find plenty of things to create friction or to create an edge relative to the people I'm competing against when I see them on the road recruiting or wherever.
How will recruiting change, if any changes, now that, like, you guys are the favorites, you're not an underdog. Now you can go out and go after those top 10 recruits. I don't know if you've always gone after them. It feels like you're picking the right people for the system that you have, not the biggest name for the system you have.
Well, I think it's a challenge not to get away from the type of people that have gotten us to where we are. Now that we have access to more 5-stars, and obviously, we're the shiny it program right now. Like, we just can't get away from our identity in getting the type of people that are attracted to Storrs, Connecticut, like serious people that, they have, they got the NBA aspirations, but that they understand that when they come here, like, we're looking for win-win situations. We're looking for, like, you got to deliver us championships while we help you get to the NBA. It can't just be, we got you to the NBA, because that is not enough when you put the UConn uniform on.
All right, the NBA question. How will you answer that whenever you get that phone call that will inevitably happen?
Yeah, I think down the line, as we look, years down the line, obviously the contract and the commitment that UConn made to me, I never thought I'd be doing this for a living like this. So, I think that's something that's going to be like years down the line for me at the absolute appropriate time. But that's not something that I'll even be on my radar, Dan. Like I had my chance to kind of see what that looks like, and I think that'll suffice for several years now. I think for me.
How important the chance to make history? How much did that factor in coming back, try for a three-peat?
Huge factor. The chance to potentially match something that John Wooden did. Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's mind blowing. Those UCLA teams, the UCLA program, Alex Carabin coming back to school, recruiting these players in like Liam McNeely, who commits to you just a couple of weeks earlier, and seeing his face while that whole situation was going on. And then like the way people in this state, knowing how important UConn is to the state of Connecticut, to the people of Connecticut, how they view me here at this point. That means a lot, like the way you're received. So there was a lot that went into it.
Did you talk to LeBron personally and tell him that you weren't taking the job?
No, but we had some conversation, and that was exceptionally cool moment to communicate with one of the greatest. And then post decision, I reached out for him and let him know that my offensive system would be really good for any James sons that play moving forward in college.